What you're about to hear is one of the most unsettling unsolved crimes in European history. A quiet family farm, a mysterious set of footprints, a locked house in the middle of nowhere, and 6 people who were murdered, one by one, over the course of a single night. This is the true story of the Hinterkaifeck Murders. Hinterkaifeck wasn't a town. It wasn't even a village. It was just a small, isolated farmstead tucked deep into the Bavarian woods in 1922. On that farm lived the Gruber family. Andreas Gruber, the 63-year-old patriarch, his wife, Cecilia, their widowed daughter, Victoria, Victoria's 2 children, 7-year-old Cecilia and 2-year-old Josef, and their maid, Maria Baumgartner. The farm stood half a mile from the nearest neighbor. When the wind stopped, it was dead quiet. Too quiet. The first signs. Something was wrong. 6 months before the murders, the original maid abruptly quit. She told neighbors the house was haunted, that she heard footsteps in the attic at night, and felt watched constantly. But the strangest detail came a few days before the murders. Andreas Gruber discovered fresh footprints in the snow leading from the forest to the house, but none leading back. Someone had walked up to the farmhouse, but never left. The night of March 31st, 1922. On the night of March 31st, a cold stillness fell over Hinterkaifeck. It was on that night that the murders began in the barn. One by one, several members of the family were lured inside. Investigators believe the killer used a soft, quiet lure, perhaps a voice calling for help, or the sound of an animal in distress. Whatever it was, it worked. Andreas entered the barn first, then Cecilia, then Victoria, and finally, little 7-year-old Cecilia. Each of them was struck with a mattock, a farming tool with a sharpened blade. All 4 died brutally, silently, inside the barn. The final 2 victims. Inside the house, the killer moved room by room. The new maid, Maria Baumgartner, had just arrived that very day, her first night on the job. She was killed as she slept, not even realizing what was happening. Then the murderer walked into the small nursery room, where 2-year-old Joseph slept in his crib. He became the 6th victim. The brutality was cold, calculated, and without hesitation. The mysterious days after. This is where the story takes a chilling turn. For 4 days after the murders, neighbors noticed smoke coming from the chimney. The family's cows were milked. The farm's dog was fed. Footsteps appeared around the property. Someone was living in the house after the murders. One neighbor swears they saw someone in the window. Another claimed they heard the sound of footsteps inside the home when they checked on the property. But no one entered the house. Not yet. Discovery of the bodies. After days with no sign of the family, several townspeople formed a search party. They entered the barn first, and what they found sent shockwaves through Germany. The bodies were stacked, partially covered with hay. Inside the house, the maid and baby were found next. The scene was unlike anything investigators had seen. No valuables were taken. There was no forced entry, no clear motive, just death and silence. The suspects and theories. Dozens of suspects were interrogated, including former lovers, disgruntled neighbors, even Victoria's rumored abuser. One man confessed, But his confession fell apart immediately. Years later, in 1923, a local resident claimed that on her deathbed, her mother confessed that the truth lies in Hinterkaifeck. But no specific name was ever given. Another theory says the killer lived in the attic for days, maybe even weeks, watching the family. And then there was the strangest detail of all. Investigators found disturbed hay and indentations in the attic, as if someone had been sleeping there. The final twist. In 1923, the farmhouse was demolished. But before it came down, investigators recovered the murder weapon, the mattock, hidden inside the attic. Someone had taken the time to hide it, and then stay on the property afterward, calmly, quietly, as if nothing had happened. Today, 6 wooden crosses stand where the farm once was, a memorial for a crime that has never been solved. More than a century later, the Hinterkaifeck murders remain a mystery. A farmhouse in the woods, a family wiped out in a single night, and a killer who may have been living among them the entire time. Some places keep their secrets, and Hinterkaifeck keeps them all.